Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right, so let us turn to page number 255. 255. Right. We were supposed to...
We are going to do the chart today.
Chart. Yes, I was going to remind you. It's the chart. Material phenomena, Rupa definitions and information.
Yes. All right. So which chart have you been able to go through the charts that...
Yes.
Yes.
It's the material phenomena, Rupa, definitions and information.
Definitions and information. Okay. Okay. Before this chart, let us go to the easier one, right? Easier one, which is the Rupa English, right? Which we also find in the book. Yeah.
Yes, Bhante.
Those of you,
orange color.
I'm going to connect the iPad. All right. Can you see this?
Yes. Rupa Sangha. Is that the one?
All right. So this is, we find is the English easier or is the Pali easier?
English, please, Bhante.
All right. So now we find within this chart, right? Within this chart, let me just get all of you up. Yeah. Right. Now we find within this chart the Rupas, on of course the 28 Rupas, with their essential groupings, right? With their essential groupings. Now, let us just go through the chart first, right? We have first the great essentials. The great essentials, we're going to go down on this side first, right? We have first the great essentials, the derivative matter, the own distinct nature. No, let's go down this side. We have the earth, water, fire, air element. We have eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, sensitivity. We have visible object, color, sound, smell, taste, right? Taste, and tangible object is found within the three great elements. 14 and 15, masculinity and femininity.
Bhante, where in the book do you get this, Bhante?
Yes, it's on page 262.
Yeah, but the terminology is a bit different, isn't it?
A little bit, because unlike in this chart, it's given in short.
I think our book is a different version. That's why, isn't it? Because it doesn't exactly match what is in my book. I don't know it is. Because now it goes earth, water, fire, air. Then it goes eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. Then it goes form, sound, smell. So the 12th one is smell, but then some things it goes a little bit different. But doesn't matter. I think it's because before this also we found, I think Devika, you and I, we have a different edition. And some of the
it's on 262 and 263.
Yeah.
But what Bhante is showing is there in the computer. It's the same. It's the same thing, but it says earth element instead of just giving earth.
Last class, I pointed out abhidhamma.com for
Yes.
if you want to go through this chart here, right?
Yes.
On the
Right.
website.
Right.
Yes.
More or less.
Okay, I'll look at the website, Bhante, because it's slightly different. Thank you, Bhante.
14 masculinity, 14 femininity, 15 masculinity, 16 heart base, 17 life faculty, 18 nutriment, 19 space limitation, 20, 21 body vocal intimation, 22, 23, 24 lightness, softness, adaptability. Some of the terminology is different. Okay. And 25, 26, 27, 28 initial arising continuity, decay, impermanence. Right. Now, before we go on, I just remembered when we went through the life faculty. Now, Dhamsiri mentioned a specific point last time, right? In which I actually went over with regards to the Suddhashtaka. Why the question was, Dhamsiri, if it is different, you can recap on the question and remind us. But I think the question was, why is it that a pure octad does not arise in by the spirit of Kamma Rupa? Is that correct, Dhamsiri?
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay, Dhamsiri. Ko ada camera ayaka, Dhamsiri? You didn't put your makeup on today? Why? Ko camera? Maybe signal problem. Okay.
No. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason why essentially is because the nature of karma also falls in the fact of producing the circumstance for karmas to arise. And we went over the fact within the Abhidhamma early pages where it said karma also brings about the circumstance for the arising of new karmas and the fruition of karma vipaka. Isn't it?
Yeah.
ඔතකොට කර්මයක් ගත්තම කර්මයකින් කර්ම විපාක දෙන කෘත්‍යයක් කරනවා තව කර්ම නිෂ්පාදන කෘත්‍යයක් කරනවා. හෝ ඒ වාතාවරණය සම්පූර්ණ වෙනවා. For that fact of continuity, that continuity of karma cannot be done without the essence of life faculty.
That's right. Yes.
Hence, life faculty is required in the process of continuity of karma. That is why a pure octad has to always have life faculty supporting when it comes to karma rupa.
Yes.
Karma rupa. Because of the essence of or the requirement of continuity demanded by karma when it comes to the production of karma rupa dependent on karma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anikatya, the others, okay?
Understood, yes.
All right. So, hardware. The other thing is, by the power of the higher powers, the other thing is when it comes to Dhamsiri, couple of weeks back, again, you put forward, okay, because of the reason of where the circumstance being. I think what we discussed was, what was it? In the material fertilization process, when the sperm mixes or, enters the egg, and the fertilization process starts, at which part does the life really occur? Right?
Or rather consciousness enter.
Yes.
Consciousness enter.
consciousness center. And then a remark was made, which was because of the Kamma Dasaka, right? Kamma Hadaya Dasakas. The production, those factors, because of those factors, then it should be the fertilization process or the consciousness should be present at the moment then where those dasakas begin, right?
And
then I disagreed with you. I mean, I disagreed with you, not with the fact that it is not a dasaka, but we disagreed on the fact of where consciousness, you said it should be there from the beginning. I said not sure about that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So in clarifying with this monk, what he said was, when it comes to consciousness, between the time of the time that the fertilization process starts up until a period of 2 weeks or so, within that period, within any part of that period, the consciousness can arise. We can't say that the consciousness arises at this specific time. It surely, we cannot say that the consciousness arises at the moment of the starting of the fertilization, right at that moment as well. It can be from that moment. However, then I sort of put in what you said, right? Which is very valiant, very valiant. And the remark that he made was, regardless of the form, we cannot take the starting of the material fertilization process to say that that is essentially the beginning of the dasakas, because the dasakas do not particularly refer to the physical entity that we are referring to, right? The remark that he made was that when we come down to the Hadaya dasakas, Vatu dasakas, the Kamma dasakas, these are natures of physicality. But these natures of physicality are so subtle that, of course, we can't point to it from the start to say that now this process has started, right? So in what he said was, in the spirit of the Abhidhamma, we can't essentially say just by the starting of the fertilizing, the material fertilization process, that consciousness is effectively there based on the rupas, based on the fact of rupas, because these rupas are such much subtle, right? Such much subtle.
So Bhante, in other words, the first 3 rupas we get, Vastu, Kaya and Bhava, it's not necessarily the immediately after fertilization.
Yes.
It's somewhere down the line.
Down the line, what is stated, and this I remember when I learned well, what they say is up to a 2-week period. That is up to a 2-week period. And in certain circumstances, it can sometimes even go beyond that, right? But essentially, now there can be physicality. If we take Patavi Apo Tejo Vayo is always there. However, even within blood, even within just an egg, even within just a sperm, individually, Patavi Apo Tejo Vayo exists. So the sperm and the egg linking or mixing or whatever, which word you would call it, there Patavi Apo Tejo Vayo will always exist. But the question is not the existence of Patavi Apo Tejo Vayo. The question is the existence of identity brought about by consciousness of an individual person who has now taken rebirth. Right? Right? Because of that, now when we refer to Vatu, Bhava and Kamma dasaka, right? We are essentially not referring to the materiality elements. We are referring specifically to the materiality elements of a being in line appropriate with the consciousness that arises of that individual being.
Okay.
Of that
Yeah.
individual being. So taking the fact that materiality is present is not condition enough for consciousness to be there, because materiality is always present.
Materiality in the form of Shuddhastaka.
Yes, in the form of Shuddhastaka.
Shuddhastaka. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We'll investigate it further, because I'm also personally, I'm also not very happy with the answer. So we'll investigate further.
Bhante, this addition I read in some other literature, a couple of places.
Sure.
Once you form the first three Rupa, Kammaja Rupa, then it takes another 77 days to initiate formation of Chakku, Sota, Gana, and those dasakas.
Yes.
So yes, it specifically says 77 days. So since the beginning of the first three. So there's some sort of I think different school of thoughts and things like that.
So physically, where if we take after pregnancy, 77 days means what in a pregnancy of a
77 days is how many weeks? 11 weeks.
11 weeks for මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? I don't know. Tell me, a doctor, please.
Mala. I think 11 weeks probably 11 week Mala says, I'm just Mala says you can identify whether it's a girl or a boy.
Okay, in 11 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, so that means certain organisms, what the organs are appearing gradually.
Okay.
Yeah.
77 days. Okay, let's see. Okay.
Have you come across that 77 days concept?
No, I have not.
No. Okay.
I have not. I will ask. 77 days.
Yeah.
77 days for the
from appearance of the 3 dasakas.
From the appearance or for the appearance? From
the appearance of
3 dasakas.
Yeah, Bhante, in detail it says that as soon as you have first consciousness, Patisandhi consciousness, it moves into Bhavanga, right? And then once you move into Bhavanga, then you start generating the Chittada, Rutuja and Aharaja. Rutuja, Aharaja, I'm not sure Chittaja. Shuddhastakas only. Because you don't have the Chittada also. Rutuja, Chittada and Aharaja.
Explain a process where right after Patisandhi, where inception happens. Is that the standpoint that was explained?
No, it didn't mention. That was the question I had.
Okay.
In that book, it did not say, the book did not say that the concept, the immediate after conception, you get this first 2 karmaja kalapas.
Yeah.
But it says that after the Patisandhi Vijnana, you move into Bhavanga, and during the Bhavanga, you start creating the other Rutja and Aharaja and Chittaja, basic Shuddhastakas, which is actually pure Shuddhastakas.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's continue with the class.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Yeah. Hare. Lightness, softness, adaptability, initial arising, continuity, decay, and impermanence. Let's go over the other part, right? Which we find. You can't see this here. There you go. We have the great essentials. Great essentials. These are the 16 classifications, right? These are the 16 classifications and the 21 groupings that we have gone over with the last class, right? Which we are now going to go through, right? Now, this is the 28, the first great essentials, derivative matter, rupas that have its own distinct nature. We are just going through the names. No distinct nature, unproduced, internal, external, base, no base, no base, do, non-do, faculty, non-faculty, gross, near, impinge, subtle, far, non-impinged, come upon, clung to, not come upon, not clung to, receiving objects, not receiving objects, inseparable, separable. Now we have the four causes, kamma, chitta, utu, ahara, ja, right? Then we have the kamma, the groupings, right? The annoying groupings, right? The difficult to remember groupings we have here. I'm sorry, I'm just being funny, right? Which is the eye decard, the ear decard, the nose decard, tongue decard, body decard, femininity decard, masculinity decard, base decard, vital nonad. These are all born of kamma. Now it sounds a little bit more clear than last time's class, I think, when we sort of read it on, as a chart, because it's all right there. We'll go through that. Then we have the chitta, which is the pure octad, bodily intimation nonad, vocal intimation decard, mutability undecard, bodily intimation mutability dodecard, vocal intimation mutability tridecard, right? Then we have the temperature born, right? Utuja, which is a pure octad sound nonad, mutability undecard, sound mutability dodecard, all under utuja, and two aharaja, the pure octad and the mutability undecard, right? Mutability undecard. Now, what we would focus on at first, maybe let's start from this classification, this part, right? Now, when we look at the great essentials, going at the great essentials first, right? Going into the great essentials first, great essentials mean without these rupas, when a kisima rupayakata hataganna baha, right? What is that? That is Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, right? So it has to be 4. You see that there? 4, right? Then we have, I'm sorry, does anyone have I hope no one is getting dizzy and will faint with me moving the screen so fast. Yeah? Okay. Derivative matter. Now, what is derivative matter? Derivative matter is any sort of matter that would arise derived from the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, right? So then everything else is dependent upon Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vaya. So we have 28 minus 4 is 24. You see that there, right? Everything else is derived from Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vaya, right? Now we have the rupas that have their own distinct nature. Now, from this part all the way up until Kammaja, rupa classification, which is up until the separable, last one here, right? If you have not read the book, now you will get a bit confused. If you have not read the book, you will now get a little bit confused, right? Because all of these, the reasons for these classifications are defined in the book. You will have to read the book to make sure that you know by what definition these classifications are there, right? So the rupas that have their own distinct nature and produced, right? Own distinct nature. Damsiri, can you explain, please? What's the meaning of own distinct nature? Damsiri, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Own distinct. That means it has on its own. It has reason. What's the word? Its cause or the reason to generate, or there should be a, what's the exact word for that? It's the basis, single basis for creation. Is it?
Pushpa, you unmuted yourself. Do you have something to say?
Mala.
Unique. Pushpa says unique.
Yeah.
Damsiri, right? Pushpa says unique.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Own distinct nature. Remember, in the classification of, I mentioned, in first chapter, I mentioned Chitta is sometimes at certain points classified as one. Usually we have 89 or 121 Chittas, 50, how many Chaitasikas?
52, Bhante.
52.
52 Chaitasikas, 28 Rupas, and 1 Nibbana, right? And 1 Nibbana. At certain instances, consciousness is categorized as 1, Chaitasika 52, 28 Rupas, and Nibbana 1, right?
Yeah.
Because the function that they perform is similar, right? The function that they often perform as a consciousness is similar. Not to say that all consciousnesses are similar. The function that they perform is similar, right? Here, now what they are saying is their existence has a unique identity and it performs a unique function. Right? Now you take, for example, go down to number 19 right there, which is space limitation. Space limitation, actually we can go, space, bodily intimation, vocal intimation, lightness, softness, adaptability, initial rising, continuity, decay, impermanence. These are functions, right? These are functions which are not there. It is not produced. It is a nature within which is unproduced. Do you understand? When we take space element, when we take the ability of bodily intimation, vocal or even lightness, softness, adaptability, right? Lahuta, Muduta, Kammanyata, these are affective natures which are present because of the way the other rupas are present. Hence, allowing those rupas to perform that function, as a result, this is able to perform its function. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, for an example, if you take some water and you wipe the desk to clean it. Now, that was what you were trying to do, to clean it, right? Let's say you spill some curry or whatnot, right? And you're cleaning it, right? As a result, for a moment, the desk would be wet, isn't it? The desk is wet, not because you wanted to make the desk wet, you wanted to clean it. Do you understand? But because you cleaned it, the desk is wet. In the same way, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, the way the essentials are, allows for the space element to be operational, right? For the balance and the workability of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, you need this. Because it is so, the space element is there. Because it is so, Lahuta, Muduta, Kammanyata is also there. Do you understand? Right? That is the nature of the phenomena. And as a result of that, what is the result? Do you understand? Now, produce unproduced. Tenna. Do you understand? I completely lost you. Completely.
How about can you please?
Right. Now, their own distinct nature and not their own distinct nature. Right? Which is the main function. They have a main function and they come to be because of that function. And the no distinct nature, they are there because of the way the rupas, which have their own distinct function or nature, are. Do you understand? Right? The only reason the no distinct nature exists is because of the way the own distinct natures exist. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. No, I understand.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for example, if you would take a rainforest with these huge, tall trees, right? Now, why do the trees grow so tall? Right? The trees grow so tall, grade 6, 7 science, isn't it? You know, but is basically because they want to get the sunlight. Do you understand? But they grow as tall as the other trees to be able to get the sunlight. Now do you get it? Right? So that second tree, which is a small, tiny sort of, sapling or whatever one would call it, grows and grows and grows and grows and grows, not because it truly wants to grow, but more because of the bigger tree that makes it by nature grow that tall as well. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? That is what those natures are. But if that same type of tree was in my garden or in your garden, it won't grow so tall. Right? It won't grow so tall. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, Bhante.
Right? All right. Let's look at it. Own distinct nature produced. I'll now read the book. Yeah? Go to these sections, read it, and then look at the chart. Earth, water, fire, air, eye sensitivity, ear, nose, tongue, body sensitivity, all of the visual, sound, smell, taste, tangibility, all of that, masculinity, femininity, heart base, life faculty, nutriment, all of that 18 in number is with their own distinctive nature and produced, while the rest, space, body, vocal, lightness, softness, adaptability, initial arising, continuity, decay, impermanence, they are the natures which come about because of the way the other rupas are, because of condition, because of the world, because of the samsara, because of the universe, because the way the sun turns, basically. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right?
Bhante.
So, for example, if we would take continue, let's take decay, for example. Right?
Which page are you? Which page, Bhante?
The screen has gone.
I can have one.
There you go. Right?
And
Now,
Bhante, excuse me, Bhante,
we are not in a page. We are in chart.
right. Okay,
Right?
understood. Okay.
Right. Now, if you would take decay, for example, decay. Now, decay is what is it? Is it like a virus that gets into your computer? Is it like a gulla that starts eating your wood? Gullas eat wood, is it? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Right. Is it like a pest that enters your home, right, and eats up something? Is it like a snail that eats your plant? Is that what decay?
It can be your body, which decay. It can be your body. Your teeth can decay.
But the thing is, decay is a nature which is a part of just, it's just there, isn't it? With everything, it is only down to the hardness or the softness of the phenomena, which then is determined by how fast or slow it decays. Right? If we would take impermanence, how can we point at impermanence? It's a nature. Right? If we look at the inconstance or the lack of constance in an energy, it's a nature within the energy. Do you understand? It is not that, okay, this is decay. When this is there, everything decays. It's not like that, is it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right? That is what we are referring to. Does everyone understand?
Bhante?
Yes.
This is, so this is Chamari. Just clarifying. So it's the intrinsic nature of any material phenomena that it arises due to hetu, then it will continue, then it will decay, and then it will come to an end. So they are the lakshana, they are the characteristics.
The characteristics. They are characteristics. Yes, they are characteristics. That is clear. But they are not we can't point to it in a sense of this is it, but we can point to process, but not to impermanence. You know, like a pimple on your face that people say this is a pimple. You can't do that with impermanence, but to a process we can point to. You know, that is why these are called, they have no distinct nature in terms of the fact when compared to its counterpart, which has a distinct nature. You understand? Right? Right? It is simply, as Chamari mentioned, it is a characteristic. Right? It is a characteristic. Now, that is 10. Now we have internal and external. Hemamali, what is internal? You have to. We don't do sign language. I mean, can you understand?
Bhante, that is eye base, ear base, nose, tongue, and body.
Yes, that is correct. But what's the definition of, I mean, why is that classified as internal? And doesn't Pathavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, isn't that also internal?
Because it's connected to the mind, consciousness.
Correct. Correct. The word. Right. Because it is true that section, Pasada Rupa Tulin, Tamai Manodware Thibena Siulu Dattyan ekatu wanna. E hetuwen Ajjatika dharmayak කියලා අපි ඒ ප්‍රසාද රූප නම් කරමු. Right? We name the Pasada Rupas as internal Dhammas because it is through the Pasada Rupas that every piece of data with regards to the world, regardless of being internal or external, is gathered. Without which, that is the reason that we call it internal. Right? The rest are external. Right? The rest are external because it would always be seen as an external phenomena now trying to be grasped, even though it might exist inside the body. Right? Even though it might exist inside the body. Your stomach might hurt. But that sensation is felt by the Pasada Rupa. Hence it is called internal. The pain which is felt or whatever is called external. Do you understand? Right? Right. So internal is 5. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. That is 5. Then 28 minus 5 is the total amount that you have for external, which is 23. Right? Moving on. Base and non-base. Right? Base and non-base. Noeline, what is a base? What is not a base?
6 bases.
Right.
And
I need
5 cents and hard base.
Right. I need an explanation already.
What do you mean, Bhante?
Just, I mean, why is it a base? Why is it a base?
Because it supports the eye to do its job.
It is a foundation for the eye to perform its function. Right? Right. Now, that is base and all the rest is not a base. Now, the heart base, we know is a base. I don't think we need any more clarifications on that, isn't it? Can we move on to the next section? Right? Now, do and non-do, right? Do and non-do. Do, dwara, right? Dwara. Now, what is a dwara and what is not a dwara? Lakshman.
Yes, Bhante. Do is you through which you can see the objects,
Sure.
like the eye, the nose, and the tongue, and that sort of thing. And also the heart base. Heart is also a do. No, not the heart. Sorry, it's the bodily function. The vocal. When you talk, that's also considered a do, isn't it, in this chart?
So maybe, yes, true, Lakshman, correct. Maybe we can just spruce up that definition and say a door is by which data enters and data is sort of moves out, right? So when it comes to the prasada rupas, the data enters, right? When it comes to bodily and vocal intimation, data is sort of communicated, isn't it? Right? Correct, Lakshman. Correct.
Bhante,
yes.
Bhante, in chapter 3, we studied dose as sixfold. And in this chapter, it's 7, isn't it? The 5 senses and the 2 communication.
Yeah.
Why is it 6 there and 7 here? Then dose. What's the difference? I mean,
because the book says so, basically. I'm kidding. By the power of Venerable Anuruddha. All right. No, the reason here is, first of all, it's always important when we sort of go through, because these sort of numbers, the terminology is quite similar. Always remind yourself, we are in the chapter of Rupa, right? We are in the chapter of Rupa. Here, the 6 doors that we referred to earlier is Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jibha, Kaya, Mano, right? Mano. Here, we are not referring to a Manodvara. Why? Because it is Rupa. So we are only referring to Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jibha, Kaya, Pasada, right? Pasada, right? Which is the material attribute. Those 5, and then the way that we would communicate, which is what is in our Manodvara, how do we now communicate it out? That is why Vachi Vinyati and Kaya Vinyati are there. Do you understand? Right? Okay. Now, faculty and non-faculty, right? Faculty and non-faculty. Dil, could you tell us why it is faculty and not faculty? Dil, you're muted. Yes.
Bhante, I won't explain because I haven't been able to follow the last 4 classes because I had something going on.
But read the book, they'll read the book, you'll get it. It's nothing.
Yeah. I will do that. Thank you, Bhante.
Hare. Chamari. Faculty and non-faculty, Chamari?
Bhante,
yes.
So it is faculty is the Indriya. So Chakku Indriya, Sota Indriya. So it works as a, how do I explain the Indriya? Yeah, it is the faculty through which these functions are performed.
Okay.
And so life faculty, that's another, Jivita Indriya. Indriya. Okay. And Bhava Rupa, they are also feminine faculty, masculine faculty.
Okay.
Where you have the function as an Indriya. I know it is not a very, I'm not hitting the nail on the head there.
If you just focus on this, simply on the definition of the word faculty, right? In consideration of a rupa, forget about chitta, but you can compare the definition. However, when it comes to a rupa, is it that these are called faculties, or by what? By the power of what is this called? These called faculties. Indriya kina vachane gattama chamari, Indriya kina vachane, Indriya kina vachane hadenne Indra kina arthe neda.
Yeah, the king.
Correct.
Top guy.
The top guy, the guy who takes power, the guy who has this authority over the rest. Right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, Chamari,
Right.
now what?
So,
now we have the.
okay. If it is eye sensitive, eye faculty, none of the other faculties will also be arising. So if it's eye faculty that's arising, that takes precedence over all others.
Yes. The rupas that are able to take precedence over the rest, right? When you are seeing, that is what you are doing. That is your focus. Yeah. Why is Jivita Indriya here? Now, for example, masculinity and femininity is also clear, right? Yeah. There are clear positions when we have the masculine attribute, when we have the feminine attribute. However, life faculty, why is it here Indriya? Because it loves, it takes precedence over the fact of continuity and life itself.
Life, yeah.
Right? Thank you, Chamari. Right? Thank you. Right? And the rest are not faculty. Right? Meaning, now take Earth as an example. Right? Earth as a Rupa never takes precedence. Right? Meaning, when that appears, when that Rupa appears, does your whole entirety stop and focus on Earth? Does that ever happen to you? It doesn't, isn't it? I mean, if you're walking on the road, right, you might, body sensitivity might. But body sensitivity, you step on a sharp rock or something like that, you will feel hurt, isn't it? But that is body sensitivity, not the earth element. Of course, it is the earth element. However, not the earth element that we are referring to with regards to the 28 rupas, isn't it? Hey, that is why it doesn't, or it is a non-faculty, right? That is why it is not a faculty, which is an indriya. Remember, faculty, indriya, Indra. Indra is, the king of kings, the one who takes the power, the one who has power over the whole world, that aspect. When this appears, how can it have this overwhelming power over the rest? Do you understand? Right? It doesn't. Right? Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, it is there. It is a foundational need to have the great essentials in everything, but it doesn't take precedence over the entirety of the being. Right? It doesn't take precedence over the entirety of the being. The Pali word would be Adhipat. It doesn't take or become Adhipati in the process of being. Right? Now, then we have gross, near, impinged, subtle, far, non-impinged. Right. Now, gross, near, you have to read the book. Huh? If you do not understand, read the book. You have to read the book because the definitions are there. It is very important. Shriyani, is there something that you want to say? Your mic is being unmuted. Okay, guess it was a mistake. That's fine. Hari. Now, gross, near, impinged. Who remembers what this is? Mala, do you remember?
What we studied was gross means something you can come into contact, what you can impinge. Just like now water is excluded because water is not something you can touch. But all the other things, Patavi, tejo, vayu, and all the other things you can touch. But apo, the water element, you can't touch. So the book explained is as something which is near, you can impinge on. That's what the book said.
Yeah, correct, Mala. Wording is a little bit off. Why? It is not that water cannot be touched. The experience of water can only be felt by the other elements. Only that, right?
Okay.
Water can be touched. The thing is, when you touch water, you feel the patavi, you feel the tej, you feel the vai. Those elements, that is why bio apo is taken out, because you feel water through the other elements. Okay? Right. Correct. Right? So those that are subtle, far, and not impinge, which you cannot impinge, are the rest. Okay, now let's go through to see what it is. So as correctly Mala said, water is subtle, far, and not impinge. Why? Because you only feel water through the other great essentials. Then we have eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, body sensitivity, which can all be impinged. Then we have the visible object, sound, smell, taste, right? Sound, smell, taste. And the tangible object, which is actually the patavi, tejo, and the bio, right? All come under impinge. Why? They can be felt, isn't it? They can be felt, they can be heard, they can be tasted, right? Because of that reason. Now, however, masculinity and femininity is not tangible. It is subtle, far, not impinged, right? Not impinged. Heart base, life faculty, nutriment, space, intimation, limitation, body, vocal intimation, lightness, softness, adaptability, initial arising, continuity, decay, and impermanence are all subtle, far, non-impinged, right? Now, Padma, can you tell us, Padma, why, for example, nutriment? Why is nutriment subtle, far, and non-impinged? What do you think, Padma?
Well, is it because from what we've said that it is something that we cannot impinge because it's the oja, it is the essence that is there?
Okay. Okay. It is the essence of what is there. It cannot be touched. It cannot be felt. It cannot be sort of said, okay, this is the oja. That cannot be said, right? That cannot be said. Or rather, it may be said. However, it can't be shown really. It can't be taken as an object. That is what it truly means. So the language, we have to be quite, we can't say this is it to the nutrient, right? Right? We can't take it as an object. Do you understand? We can't take it as an object, right? Now, femininity and masculinity. Now, we might at first, by nature of definition, be related to the construct of the genders, the physical phenomena of genders, right? But this is not so really. This is not so. It doesn't really mean or talk about the just the gross sexual phenomena, right? It is something far, far more subtle than what we would refer to as a sexual organs of a male or a female, right? That is why they are all categorized as subtle, far, and non-impinged, right? Non-impinged. Now, moving on. Karma born, clung to, right? Not karma born, not clung to, right? Karma born, clung to, not karma born, not clung to. Now, what is karma born, clung to, and not karma born, not clung to? Anyone?
Karma born is the 18 concrete rupas.
The 18 concrete rupas. Definition. Why are they the 18 different? Why are they the 18 concrete rupas?
Is the Suddha Ashtakas.
Because it's karma, depend on the karma.
Because it is karma born? Because it depends on karma? Is that right?
Yeah.
Born of karma.
It's Bhante.
Yes.
It's because these materials are actually common to both Kammaja and other origins, right? For example, if you say earth element, water element, and all, they are common both for Kammaja as well as for Rutuja or Chittaja. So it's operating sort of both ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then why is it not clung to?
Okay. Why is not clung to? When it comes to the clung to, that means we use the word upadana, right? So we have upadana only with the sensitivity or the materials, all right?
Okay.
And sensitive materials, and so again we have when it comes to earth element and fire element, things like that, it is not necessarily the upadana. It can be just without upadana, right?
Yes, correct.
So it operates both ways, yeah.
Right. Basically, without a particular or respective attachment or need to experience a specific phenomena, that phenomena will be respectively experienced. Right? An example which we can use is, now for example, if you take sound here, right? Sound. Whether you want to hear a sound right now, you might be very focused on the class. You want to be focused. You don't want to hear a sound from the house, right? However, when you're in the class, you hear a sound in the background. Your children or someone who else, your partner, your husband, your wife, whoever it is, right? Regardless of you wanting to taste it or not, regardless of you wanting to hear or not, to accept the frequency or not, you will hear it. You will hear it. However, that is different from taste. Because if taste is put into your mouth, right? If there is a piece of whatever which is put into your mouth, it has to be accepted in terms of tasting to know the taste, right? Even if it is the taste of your own sort of mouth, the taste of your mouth or the taste which is there in your mouth, right? You experience it as a phenomena that has now been accepted in a certain way or not, right? It's a subtle sort of line right there, right? Now, let's just go through it. Here we find karma born, clung to, right? Earth, water, fire, air. Earth, water, fire, air. But earth, water, fire, air can also at times arise under the non-karma born and not clung to category as well. Right? For example, can you give me an example of when this could happen?
Bhante, inside the body, the hard patavi there, and outside the world, patavi there. Inside the body, liquid there, and outside.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We are now, for example, yes, I mean, just the same as that. Because of the outside, let's say because of the outside utu, the internal utu changes. With that, creating a chain of now new rupas arising, but not caused by any need of yours or not caused by any sort of attachment of yours, but as a chain reaction to the environment itself. As a chain reaction to the environment itself. Now, for example, when we did Aharaja Rupa, Aharaja Rupa can arise when you eat something, or even if you rub something on your skin, that can also be a nutritive essence. Right? Now, taking an instance when something actually rubs on your skin, you are not aware of it. You're walking, going for a brisk walk or something through a forest or whatever. And then something, is rubbed on your skin, on your arm or on your leg. You don't realize this up until you come back home. But clung to or not knowing or unknowingly, now the Aharaja Rupas have a reaction has gone off or started rather within the body. Is that understood? Is that understood? No? Have I made it unclear? Right? Okay. Take this as an example. Let's say when you were walking in the forest, I don't know if this happens. Let's say some bee honey sort of, fell onto your shoulder and you didn't realize it. You just don't realize it for the sake of example, right? Now, bees honey is very good for the skin, right? Now, when you come back home and you realize on your shoulder there's bees honey, right? Now, you knowingly or unknowingly, the bees honey has led to the, sort of a softer sensation of the skin where it was being a little bit softer than where there was no bees honey. Do you understand? Right? In that kind of a manner, where without that sense of upadana or with that sense of upadana, that can arise. Hence, we have that those two possibilities where it can be kammaja, aharaja, rupaja, or whatever because of the four causes, or it can be with attachment or without attachment. Yes, Chamari.
Bhante, so would it be okay to think that the 18 kammaja rupas are kind of personal, whereas the non-clung to are impersonal.
Would it be right to personal?
So space as impersonal, production, continuity, decay, impermanence as like impersonal. Eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, they are all to do with the upadana. Wanting to see, wanting to taste, wanting to hear. So everything to do with karma, it is to do with the being. Whereas the others would still be there in the world.
But the thing here is, when it comes to now specifically something like space, if we say that that whole category is personal or impersonal, we also do find that space does arise because of consciousness, temperature, and nutriment, as a result of consciousness, temperature, and nutriment, isn't it?
But what about space between two objects that are external?
Yes.
That could also be a demarcation of the separation between two, I mean, I don't know, a mountain and a pond or something like that. There's a clear difference.
Yes. Yes. Personal or impersonal?
I was just thinking it may not be, but for me, it is easier for me to understand. The moment the word karma is introduced, it's to do with life. It's to do with life faculty. It's to do with hetupala.
To do with hetupala.
Just a thought.
What do the others think about that? Personal and impersonal. Any thoughts?
It's difficult if you classify that way. When it comes to Bhante, intimation,
that's right.
Intimation is personal, right? And bodily intimation and vocal intimation is also, you can classify as a personal. So there's exception in that particular incident.
Summary?
Yeah, Bhante, yeah, that's the only difference. Those two of expression, either bodily or vocal. So that is to do with being as well. But the phenomena itself, yeah, so that's the only exception as I see it as well. But this was how it was easy for me to kind of remember. All of the 18 karma-based or clung to are to do with upadaya and
Bhante, the explanation is when it comes to karmaja born, karmaja born is as a result of karmic results, right? So all the materiality under this section, under the karmaja, is as a result of karmic resultant. So hetupala. So in that, because naturally karmic resultant come into the animate rather than inanimate. So what Chamari says is correct in that respect, because you get karmic resultant to a person or to a living being, right? And so right?
Of course, by one definition or one potential definition of the subject, it is true, very much. However, when it comes to the consideration that yes, it can be come upon, it also can be because of consciousness, temperature, nutriment. Then it arises a specific problem by that definition. Padma, yes, Padma, your hand is up.
Can you please explain the sound again? Because sound is not clung to, is not clung to, but I thought probably sound, the ability to produce sound, well, someone may be a good singer, all those could be karmic, isn't it?
Yes, it can be very much, but singing would come under bodily, vocal emission.
Yeah.
Right? Now, but here, when we say, okay, now, when we say we are here not referring to, sound as when we take the phenomena of sound, it is the transmission of those frequencies and the understanding of what is said, heard, by interpreting those frequencies that we then understand. Right? Mm-hmm. Whereas in the processes of visible object, right, there is a direct impingement, right? I'm sorry. There's a direct impingement now, which is the light, which falls on the pasada. If we take smell, the same thing. Yeah. If we take taste, same thing. Tangible object, same thing, but not the sound.
Okay.
Then shabdayak vindine ka hari.
Yeah.
Shabdayak api vidinne through a process of interpretation rather than an attraction.
Direct contact. Yeah. Yes, you explained it once as direct contact and non-direct contact, yes. I think.
Yes.
That's the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Now.
Bhante?
Yes.
The other thing, what is different in the sound is all the other objects like visible, smell, taste, tangible objects, they are all personal. But the sound, like thunder, it could be not personal.
Yeah.
Like if a mountain, if there's a storm, things falling on the roads and things like that, they make sound. And in this way, sound is different from all the other sense objects.
Yes. Yes, very much. Very much.
But that was mentioned in one of the talks by a priest in the YouTube.
Yes. It is very much different from this other sense experiences. Now, for next week, let us go over again the definitions. Specifically now, I want to go through the come upon and clung to again, and the not come upon and not clung to again. Please go through the definitions. It's in the earlier pages, right? We will go over that column again. For now, we have 10 minutes left. Let us go over the rest. Receiving objects, not receiving objects, right? Receiving objects, not receiving objects. Now, what is that about? Right? Receiving objects and not receiving objects. The positions, the rupas that arise or perform a receiving function of receiving objects and those that do not perform a receiving function, right? Pataviya Tejo Vayu does not perform a receiving function. the prasada rupas perform a receiving function, right? The objects themselves do not perform a receiving function, isn't it? The object doesn't receive, the prasada rupas receive the objects, but the objects do not receive anything, isn't it? Then we have do not perform a receiving function. Everything else, none of them perform a receiving function. We only receive through the prasadas, right? Only through the prasada. So that is clear. Now we have the inseparables and the separables. For the inseparables, we have Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. They will always arise together, and then Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Right? Vanna, Gandha. Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Right? Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. This is the vital monad. Right? No, the pure octad. The pure octad, right? The pure octad, not the vital monad. Pure octad. That is Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, and Oja right there. 8, right? The pure octad, right? They will always arise together. Then we have separables, which can arise separately, right? From those which are inseparable. That is the rest. Okay? The rest, except those in the vital, pure octad, other than those in the pure octad, can arise separately. Then we have, okay, there we are going to stop. Right? Let's stop there. And go through the other section. We are going to go through next class. So I want you to go through all the definitions of the classifications before we move on. The definitions of the classifications, right? And we will be going through again the karma born and clung to, not karma born and not clung to. We'll be going through again, and then continuing with the 4 causes up until the end of the chart, and then moving on to the other chart, which is this one, right? Moving on to this one. If we get that one correct, if we get that one, the earlier chart clear, this would be quite easy. The new, or rather the unique aspects of this chart is, of course, the appearance of the kalapas, the experiences. It gives more detail into that chart that we have just gone into. So that would be more interesting to go through. Yes, Padma.
Sorry, I don't want to keep you, but isn't mudita, uddita, and the kalap, the 3 soft things, to always go together too always?
They, now, by the spirit of inseparable, they have to be inseparable from each other.
Okay, right. Okay,
If they are inseparable, we are talking about inseparable by nature or by foundation of a rupa.
Okay.
So if they are inseparable, they have to arise together all the time.
Right.
Like
okay.
If we are to compare a sobana sadharana, it can't be a sobana sadharana if it does not arise with all the sobanas.
Okay.
Do you understand? In the same manner, if it is inseparable, it has to be able to arise together at all times when it comes to a rupa. That is why lahuta, mudita, kamanyata are not there. Okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. Hari. So that is it for today. That is it for today. Any questions? All right. Yes, Noeli.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to, but I'll ask you the question then. Why is Abhidhamma so difficult, Bhante?
Ane manda.
Because one chapter it says something, and the next chapter it says a different thing. Is it like dose and things? You know, it's 5 and here it's 7.
Yeah.
6 and 7.
This is
so
your
difficult.
first time, isn't it, Noeli? This is your first time. And something I think those who have done it earlier would really sort of also agree with me. When you do it the second time, everything begins to sit together and fit together much, much more easily. It is really, it is really like if you're listening or studying Dhamma only by listening to Dhamma Desanas, then your Dhamma knowledge is not so good, really. You know a lot, that is for sure, because you've heard, but you don't know where the data and the pieces fit in properly. But if you're listening and now reading, that is where now everything, the puzzle starts sort of fitting, right? So, in a similar way, don't worry about it, go through it, because it is really in understanding in what spirit is it mentioned, which will give you the answer to your question. It is 5 when it comes to this, it is 7 when it comes to this nature. This all becomes clear as you go through it, Noeli. So don't you worry too much.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Don't you worry too much. When you do it, when you sort of finish it, and if you're reading the book and all of that, and reading the book is so important, and revisiting it and all of that. And when you sort of now start again, right, after you finish it, don't stop, just start reading the book again. Then it will become infinitely so much more clear, right? So much more clear.
Thank you, Bhante.
Because now you're going back into the Chitta chapter with all of the knowledge that you have done or collected with the book. Now it starts properly fitting in, and you can make a sense of it. But don't worry, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right then. Good night, everyone. I will see you all on Wednesday. Yeah.
Good night.
Take
Everyone
care.
said,
Everyone,
Good night.